Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Podcast. Today is Wednesday, February 9th, 2022. We're going to take a look at, obviously, what the market's doing, what rates are doing, how much fun it is to buy a house. But today we have a special guest, and we're going to get off a little bit of what we usually do. We'll get back into the normal stuff, but today we're going to go ahead and take a deep dive into what makes a great loan originator. And with me today, we have Mr. Harvey Freed. Harvey's been in the business since, I'm going to say the early 90s. So that puts him in the business over 30 years. Harvey Freed is also the host of the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show, heard every Saturday morning for the last 23 years on 97.1 FM from 9 to 10. Again, Harvey and I decided that we wanted to do and bring consumer advocacy and have consumers have a forum every Saturday morning. And Harvey is the host with the most. Harvey, good morning, buddy.
Oh, thanks, Harry, for the introduction. I was waiting to hear who the special guest was going to be, so I appreciate that. But after 30 years here, yes, I got in the business. I bought my first house actually in 1992, so I might have been in the business a year or two before that, so about 30 years now. And things have changed, but what never has changed in the mortgage business is the basic components of a mortgage, Harry, and we'll break those things down today. I wrote a few helpful tips to help people, and it's still the first.
But let's talk, Harvey. I want to interrupt you because I think I want to learn. I don't necessarily want to get into the mortgage business right now. I want to get into the reasons why you're in the mortgage business and what has changed since the time that you got in the mortgage business in the early 1990s to right this second. What's changed for you? How did you get in? Why did you get in? And tell me about all the changes in the business in the last 30 years.
All right. Well, that's going to be a whole 25 minutes just to even get started there, but we'll give it a try. The best advice I got was from a friend who told me, hey, this might be something you're interested in. It's sales oriented, it's lucrative, and you help people with the American dream is home ownership. As we know, over 90% of the families out there eventually obtain a mortgage to purchase their first home or their second or third home. So with that in mind, it's an interesting business because it's directly correlated to real estate, and which, as many people have diversified their portfolios, and of course, home ownership now levels at all-time highs again, Harry. So yeah, it's been exciting. I couldn't spell mortgage when I first got into the industry. And one of the things I quickly learned about the industry, Harry, and things that have changed. Well, one of the things was so many people back in the day really didn't know what they were doing. So there was a lack of education, not only in the industry for the consumer, there was a lack of education in the industry. Harry, as you know, I interviewed with your company 28 years ago. The same day I interviewed with another company, they didn't even know what they were doing, and they were doing mortgage business. It was odd to me that there were some fakers and stuff like that in the industry. Now we've come so far, and the one thing that never changes is the principle of knowledge. And that's the one thing, boy, I've already called. I reached out to our renovation team this morning, Harry, and I'm diving into the renovation loans now just to keep my knowledge bank up and to be competitive. That way, what we do here at Capital is so exclusive because we're always trying to take advantage of the programs out there and how it can benefit our borrowers versus how it's going to benefit us. So that's why it's been great to deal with us. We offer the FHA, the USDA, the MSHDA loan, all these unique programs, Home Path, Home Ready, Home Possible, USDA, conventional mortgages, jumbo loans. So we offer everything. So it takes a lot of work here. And that's what actually keeps it fresh still to this day. I'm going to let you sort of wrap up this thought. That's what keeps it fresh today is I have to constantly be on my tip of my chair here to learn all about the new programs and the programs that we can offer all the consumers.
Well, I would say this, Harvey, if I could say for you, being with you for the last 30 years, the industry has evolved, changed. It all goes through cycles, right? Rates go up, they go down. Home buying season never really ends. It's just a matter of how the market is going. Right here, as we sit here now, Harvey, what has changed? What has changed is since 2012, right? It has become a seller's market. There's been a plethora of new buyers entering into the market, therefore making it a seller's market. We are in the 11th year of a home buying frenzy, unlike that we've ever seen, specifically in the last 30 years. To have the last 30 years, over 1/3 of it be a home seller's irrational exuberance where sellers are getting unbelievably high prices because the demand out there for homes is significant. But Harvey, it's still a relationship business, right? What have you done to continue to capture new relationships as well as maintain your current relationships?
It's a balancing act, Gary, because we want to share all our leads and all our relationships with our top agents that refer us business. So, and then you're constantly trying to keep that core of real estate agents and referral sources, CPAs, constantly keep them at your right there again at the tip of your seat, where they're able to reach out to you and get the service for their clients, so we're able to reach back out to them. One of the things that we've always done here, Harry, is we don't own our own title company. We have stayed in our lane. If they ever want to look up the true definition of staying in your lane, it would be us. We just do these mortgages, residential loans, and we offer every type of mortgage. But it's been a constant battle to keep, because our friends and family, as the business has expanded, right, some of our referral sources have been lured to go to and want to send their business other places. We see people paying for leads. We see under the table kickbacks. There's been some interesting things that might not actually benefit the consumer. So that's the number one thing, Harry, as I think as we continue on nurturing the relationships, I think people want to work with us straight up because we don't do anything strange. We stick to mortgages and working to get the transaction done so the client really enjoys the experience.
Yeah. Hey, Harvey, for you, again, you've been doing this a long time, everybody. This is the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Podcast, brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding, powered by Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS number 2289. Fairway is a top 10 lender in the United States. We're proud of our association with them, and we love Fairway. And of course, Capital Mortgage Funding been around over 30 years now. But Harvey, when we got into the business, there was no internet advertising, no internet lenders out there. We have a radio show for 23 years. We actively advertise social media, network, radio, podcast, our radio show. How has that additional exposure, Harvey, the radio show, helped you out, your profile, the last 23 years that we've been doing the radio show? How's that helped your profile?
Well, that's a great point, Harry, how social media could really increase your business. I think having the radio show over the last 23 years has given people, well, it's given me personally some name recognition locally. So I have name recognition, and there should be trust and credibility. Harry, when we got in the industry years ago, if you screwed up a transaction, boy, it was tough to get another transaction from that borrower. Meanwhile, today, there's a plethora of new loan officers. They're messing up deals all over the place. And there's a whole bunch of real estate agents. They're not writing up contracts that make sense. So there's that lack of professionalism that when I first got in the industry, we had less people involved, but a lot higher level of professionalism. Now you could just open up your phone and you could get a solicitation from someone who's never even closed a transaction. And what we're finding is our buyers who click on these social media sites area, they're not always dealing with the top-notch agents. So they're not getting the best service and knowledge that they really need to make better decisions, especially in today's market where you're overbidding on houses. So social media, radio shows, podcasts, they can be really good sources of knowledge for the consumer, or they could sometimes backfire on the consumer, and the consumers are just dealing, because they clicked a button, the wrong person got their name and phone number.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Harvey. I would tell you this, I'm all for, many, many choices that the consumers have. What the radio show does and what our podcast does and just our name brand recognition brings to the table, it really brings to the table that people can call, listen, go ahead and do their homework regarding what we bring to the table, and they'll see that we always bring the consumer's point of view. We go ahead and set the consumer up for success. We will give them the truth of the matter, take them through the transaction. And again, sometimes people don't want to hear it because what they can do, Harvey, is they could go watch other TV spots, listen to radio, go to other podcasts, other radio shows maybe, and somebody's going to say something that they want to hear to make it a little bit easier for them, but it doesn't necessarily equate to the truth. So we always say, you got to go ahead and disseminate accurate information versus inaccurate information. I love to say that, and I'm all about accurate information. Sometimes it comes off very, very harsh, but consumer advocacy is a big part of what we do. We advocate for our consumer and set them up for the best transaction. Nobody said that the mortgage business is easy. We just make it easier. Now, let's get into something that has always worked for you. Harvey, where did you go ahead and how did you acquire such a strong work ethic?
Well, you're making the whole podcast about me. Well, thank you. I am the special guest in today's podcast. So my work ethic comes from my mother, who worked pretty hard up until a few years ago. And so she pretty much worked up to be about almost 80 years old. She's still out there kicking it. She's still yelling at umpires at many baseball fields and softball fields across Metro Detroit. And any referee that makes a bad call, she'll let you have it. So I've always been feisty. I learned it from her. And again, that comes with the passion. You can't teach people passion in our industry. Here we often have so many of these real estate agents that we've met who have a great history here in Metro Detroit come on our show. And it's so easy to spot the ones that are knowledgeable and passionate about their industry. And then we've had other agents on here and they're out there and we come across these transactions and boy, they're not as passionate. So they're not willing to get that extra phone call in or go the extra step or mile for their clients. And boy, Harry, that it really affects today's marketplace. As I don't want to just focus on myself. I've had some success over the years, but in today's marketplace, you only get one shot because it's so competitive to make that purchase offer. You better have that mortgage company, that lender who's passionate, who wants to go the extra mile, who will take that phone call at 11 o'clock at night in case the listing agent calls and wants to know, can you close in 30 days? And has your loan gone through the automated underwriting system? How far along are you? So you get one shot. You better make sure you have a great real estate agent and also a lender and a great team working for you. So yeah, you better find people like myself, Harry, you're like yourself, who are passionate, who wake up every morning, not only excited about the new transactions coming in, but how they can help families achieve home ownership.
All right, Harvey, to wrap up this segment about you, I've known you for a long time, over 30 years. You've closed about $1 billion in transactions personally, assisted on billions of others. Nobody can go ahead and ever question your work ethic. And I'm glad that you paid tribute to your mom because, see, everybody has a story and everybody comes from someplace, correct? I know your mother. She's been a hard worker. She instilled a hard work ethic into you and your brother. It's a phenomenal thing to see when it gets passed on like that. Also, I've been at baseball fields where your mother has yelled at umpires. Yeah. So I kind of like that. And she's a very nice woman. And thank you for paying tribute to her. All right, let's talk about going forward, Harvey. The market right now, extremely hot in the United States of America, specifically metropolitan Detroit, all vacation areas. We go down south, any place where there's water, it's really going crazy in the entire United States. Let's talk about what you see for 2023 and the purchase market as you sit here on February 9th, 2022.
Yeah, Harry, the same thing we're experiencing here in Michigan, which is they say is going to be the #1 state in 2050 because we're going to have all the fresh water here. Well, we already have all the more boats registered here than anywhere else. I think we have more golf courses than anywhere else. And then we're going to have all the fresh water. So what we're experiencing here in Michigan is what they're experiencing in other parts of the country too. Highest and best offers, are still the conversation. Home appreciation's the conversation. So then it leans back onto this plan, this master plan of if you're going to sell your house, what is your plan? If you are purchasing a new home and you have nothing to sell, well, be prepared to overpay a little bit, but go after the house that you truly want. One of the conversations always was in the mortgage industry is, boy, these interest rates are still at all-time lows. Here we always talk about the crazy stories of 14 to 18% in the 80s and the early 90s. They started trickling down to 12, 10, and 8%. You know, the one thing they never talk about back when those interest rates were that high too, Harry, is that money market accounts were paying 7 to 10%. So if you had a good chunk of money, you could also make some money just sitting it in a local savings and loan bank back then. But 2022 is already off and running. I had a couple offers that didn't get accepted. So everyone's experiencing this lack of inventory and these high prices. Overbidding is still moving into the spring of 2022. And if I could just jump out and give some other advice, build your credit profile, first-time home buyers especially. Credit's one of the three major components of home ownership. You have to have credit in order to have a good credit score. And because it's so competitive out there, having the higher credit scores will allow you to get the conventional mortgage. And that's the language that most listing agents are most comfortable with. Again, maybe their own lack of knowledge scares them away from a VA purchase or a USDA purchase. But conventional loan, if you're a first-time home buyer, will allow you to purchase a house at as little as 3% down. Also, there's some other programs out there that require that you have higher credit scores. So really build that credit profile going into 2022 if you want to get an offer accepted. I'll leave you with that, Harry.
Yeah, so Harvey, I want to go ahead and wrap this up. This podcast brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding, powered by Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation, equal housing lender, 2289 NMLS number. Always produced and directed by Roberto Beauchene in the booth. But Harvey, I want to ask you this question: 7 rate hikes this year, maybe? I mean, I don't know. I kind of tend to harp on the rates at this point in time because I don't agree with that. Yes, I agree the rates are going to go up this year. Yes, I agree we're going to have a hot real estate market. Here's the however. Okay, the Fed could go ahead and dampen the spirit of the American home buyer by raising rates too fast and in too short of a period of time. Okay, that's just my theory right this second. I don't want to see it happen. I don't want to believe that the Fed is thinking about raising rates 7 times. It started out 3 to 4, then it went to 5, and now I'm reading an article yesterday printed by CNBC. I printed it out Monday, February 7th at 1:39 p.m. 7 rate hikes. Fast rising wages could cause Fed to raise interest rates even higher this year. What we know to be true, Harvey, is if rates always go up faster than they come down, rates are not going to zero. Rates are not going to go down in 2022. Don't listen to those people that tell you that they are. Harvey Freed, don't you think that would dampen the American buyer's spirit?
I agree with that. It will dampen the spirit if they go out, if house hunting continues aggressively in 2022, and then a home buyer out there who heard numbers last year, maybe put it on the sidelines, it goes back out in the marketplace. Look, Harry, rates have already gone up. The Fed funds rate has a trickle-down correlation with the mortgage rates. They've already gone up over 0.5%, and they will continue. But here we sit, February 2022. Rates are still lower than the pandemic, as when the pandemic started. So pre-pandemic rates are still a little bit higher than they are today. So that is pretty exciting to think that rates will be at least very good. Maybe not these all-time lows, but very good to finish out the year.
All right, parting words, Harvey Freed. What are your last words for consumers out there to recap? They should get pre-approved. They should talk to a lender, a mortgage professional first before even going out to look for a house. However, you know it doesn't happen that way a lot of the times. What are your last words today for buyers out there?
Well, give us a call for your mortgage and deal with really straight shooters. That's one of the things. I think calling around to strangers is really a bad thing, and it doesn't keep the business here in Michigan. I've had some clients, they reached out to a place. It was a recent story, Harry. They reached out online. It takes you to one site, then another site. And sure enough, now they're in another state, in a suite, in another building, dealing with strangers. Well, it turned out, Harry, that when these interest rates changed, they weren't locked in like they were promised. Deal with local lenders that have a track record that you can deal with. And again, you can meet us here in person in the office. I think building that relationship and having a confidant in the mortgage industry would be key to home success.
Harvey Freed, that was wonderful. It was great talking a little bit about you, getting a little bit deeper dive, your insight. You've been in the business over 30 years. You're the host of the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate and Business Show, heard every Saturday morning, 97.1 FM from 9 to 10 a.m. We're also joined on that show by Lisa Lawson, Becky Alley, John Kolb. We bring a host of guests on there, the top realtors in metropolitan Detroit, inspectors. We have appraisers come on, title insurance people, investment advisors. The list goes on and on. Looking forward to doing the show again with you, Harvey. We've got Joe Muck coming on, Joe Muck Real Estate, 9 to 10 on 97.1 this Saturday. So this has been the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate and Business Podcast, brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding, powered by Fairway Independent Mortgage, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS number 2289, produced and directed by none other than our own Roberto Beauchene. Hey, we'll see you on the show, guys.